It's at times like this, I wish I knew how to write a speech and read it and look like I'm actually talking and thinking at the same time. I guess if I could do that, I probably would have done what you've done, graduated from somewhere. I don't know how to do that, so I'm really here for a couple of much more basic reasons. I want to thank Mark Huddleston, Mike DeSalle, and a lot of the faculty that I have met and a lot that I haven't. I want to thank them for a couple of things. I wouldn't be here without them. And that's no joke. I think, Mark, you need to understand universities are very conservative. That's why they last so long. I think without the vision and leadership of President Huddleston, the University of New Hampshire would not have put the resources that they did to make such an incredible institution come up so fast in Manchester, and in particular in the Mill Yard. And if it were not for him and then bringing in somebody like Mike to add the energy and keep increasing the momentum, I don't think there'd be a graduation here. So I wouldn't be here. Most of you, you might be in Durham, or sadly, you might be in some other state. That would be a big loss to Manchester, to New Hampshire. So really, on behalf of, I think, all of you, I thank you, President Huddleston. Sadly, as I'm sure all of you know, he's retiring, by the way, without my permission. But we hope to keep him involved, and we hope to keep the Manchester College going and growing. The other very practical reason that I'm here, besides wanting to thank all of you folks, is really simple. I'm recruiting. I got about 500 people in this Mill Yard, and I got 100 open positions, and I'm desperately looking for smart people. Engineers, scientists, mathematicians, people that can communicate, policy people, even, though I'll deny it publicly, a few good lawyers. But I think this whole community is exploding. It has everything you could want, except as the excitement's growing, and as you heard Mark Huddleston point out, Army is bringing all sorts of national resources here. The gating item to the growth of this community is going to be making sure we keep the best and the brightest that got educated here, and that we make sure to attract the best and the brightest from around the country to come here. In that regard, by the way, since I am an equal opportunity offender, I know that as we started Army, there were two people that are down in a little place called the Food and Drug Administration. One, an MD, PhD with 17 years of seniority. The other, one of his right-hand people. And after we got Army going up here, they packed up. They left Washington and they're up here. And in fact, Dr. McFarland, I'm told, is here somewhere. And Becky Robinson Ziegler is somewhere. There they are. And Becky created a syllabus for you and taught a course here already. And I'm told she's going to do it again. And it's really on the cutting edge of biotech, engineering, and medicine. And I think over the next few years, you're going to see this community evolve into a hub the same way that Silicon Valley became the home of the semiconductor industry. A new industry has got to emerge quickly in this country, an industry that can combine engineering, biology, and medicine to start growing replacement human organs, to end the need to give people chronic treatment, which is painful and expensive, and instead give them the next generation the 21st century version of medicine. Replace the damaged, defective, unusable organs with new ones. It's not really a dream anymore. It's becoming a real, reachable goal. It's a big task, but we're up for it. And I'm hoping this community will be the center of it for decades to come. I have a couple of other comments I have to make about graduations. I've done a few of these. They all seem to be the same, and I'm starting to realize what the pattern is. It's not about any of you with the silly hats. I've got it figured out. From the time you were all kids, your mom and dad would get some odd thrill out of putting you in silly little hats on your birthday and other. They love it. I got pictures of me in one of those little hats at 5 years old. I think this whole graduation thing is all about your parents and your grandparents. The 4 years you spent here might be about you, but this event, you wouldn't do it if you didn't have parents and grandparents and friends. It's part of their scheme. I think many of these people realize this may be their last chance to dress you up in silly costumes and put silly hats on you. And I've now realized that revenge is sweet because we just saw somebody who has 3 kids here who got to see you in a silly hat. And I think that's just great. So I'll give you 2 other observations I've made. One serious, one I'm not so sure. At many of the graduations I go to, although it's getting better over the last few years, I think people are wising up. But think about this, at almost every graduation, there'll be some speaker. Typically, they want some iconic political leader or business leader, a sports figure. And they'll get up, and somewhere in their comments, the theme is, you've all worked really hard. It's your turn now. Go out and conquer the world. Well, virtually every part of that statement is very bad advice and untrue. Yes, you've worked, but compared to people around the world that aren't lucky enough to be in a place like this, to get a world-class education, you aren't working hard. There are about 1 billion people out there that get up every morning wondering if they're going to find food and water for their kids. They have very little education, very little opportunity, and very little hope. They're working hard. You've been given an incredible gift. And by the way, the idea that now that you have this power, education, most power a person can have, the idea that you got to take this power and go out and conquer the world, trust me, this world does not need conquering. This world is on life support. What this world needs is smart people with a real education dedicated to fixing it, whether it's food, and by the way, any of you ready to do that, remember, I got 100 openings right now. So seriously, remember that your education is a tool, not a weapon. Finally, the last observation I have for you is that every time I've been offered the opportunity to stand in front of a large group of people and make a jackass of myself wearing a silly hat, it's always accompanied by somebody who says something more or less along the lines of, Dean, can you just take a few minutes and give these kids some advice on how to succeed? And every time I've been asked to do that, I think, okay, they've had you for 4 years. They've got tens of thousands of dollars of your money. In the last 5 minutes before you're done, they want me to tell you how to succeed. So But because Mike is a special guy, and because I've thought about this a lot in the past, I will deliver. I made a short list of the 100 things you need to do to succeed. I'll try to go through it quickly. Number one, find something that's really important to do. That might seem easy. It's not. You're young, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of things I wish I still had, a lot of time left. But what you may not have is enough good judgment to know what the really important problems are and how to go about solving them. But since you have that diploma, since you're in demand, you can easily be lured to do something, to make some money, to make a living. I'd urge you to think carefully before you do that, not about what the job is when you're going to take it, but imagine yourself about ready to retire. And imagine that you're going to think back to what that job is that you spent the most precious thing you have, your time, doing. And if it's not something that you look back and think that was an important trade of my time to do, don't do it. Find something important to do, a really important problem that you can be passionate about, that you're not going to give up on, and go do it. Now, that's hard, but you'll know you found a really important problem if when you tell everybody, your friends, your parents, that's what you're going to do, they violently try to discourage you. Well, they will. Your friends will be smart enough to know you're probably going to fail, and your parents have been protecting you your whole life. That's what they do. They mean well, but they're going to try to usher you to the next safe thing with a well-defined outcome. If enough people tell you that's really nuts, but you know it's an important thing, it might work, and you've got a passion for it, go do it. You fall down, you pick yourself up. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, as long as you pick yourself up one more time. Number two, don't give up. Here's the best thing I have to say all day. The other 98 don't matter. They don't matter. I don't have any other advice, but I'll just remind you, you'll all go out and make a living, and you'll get something for it. But you'll make a living by what you get. You'll make your life by what you give. Have a great life.